Okay, back on track, Baruch Hashem. Thank you very much, David, for taking over when I was away. All kavod, really impressive. And Baruch Hashem, Motziayin, Yeshir should be that tzloch of Klal Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael, and Chutz La'aretz, everywhere. Bezos Hashem, everyone should come here and greet Mashiach soon. So we are in Ein Zayin Amud Aleph, Amar Abaye, right? So basically, we do have to, basically recap on what Rava was saying. So the Moitzi Yain, the Mishnah, I would read quickly at least parts of the Mishnah, and then Rava is the idea. Yeah. Says the Mishnah, okay, says the Mishnah. How much wine are you chayiv if you took out on Shabbos? How much wine? So it says enough to meziga, to like dilute the wine. We're talking about yain chai, raw wine, strong wine, like the concentrated wine. How much of that you chayiv if you took out on Shabbos? Enough to dilute it in order to have a normal good cup of wine, which we'll see means really wine of Birkas Hamazon or Kiddush, which really means a quarter of a ravis. That's what we said. Ravis is what we know as ravis. 86 or 150 milliliters, like more like a Chad Pami cup, almost full. That's more or less a vis, and I think Chazonish. And when you drink that, that's a shear. That's a normal cup of wine. A quarter of that is wine, and that's the wine we're talking about. You chayiv if you took out wine, keneged that amount. If you add the 3 times of that water, you can get the ideal cup of wine halachically, as we're going to see later. And then the end of the Mishnah said, after talking about other drinks, it says, V'sh'al kol hamashkin be'avis. Any other drinks, orange juice, apple juice, whatever, all the other things that are not honey or oil or water, which are discussed before, the standard amount is a ravis, which we know means a full ravis, a ravis haloig, which is ravis for Kiddush, for Abdullah, which we always use. And then Rove says, Omar Rove, I'm jumping to Omar Rove, Afanana mitnina. We learned also in the Brisa something to support what Prophet said. Don't worry, I'm gonna recap everything he said. Bezos Hashem. Tina, hamoitzi yain kidem zigas kois. How much wine are you chayav if you took out wine? How much? Enough to be moizeg, to dilute it, to add water. Lemazeg is to combine, like mizug avir. That is the amount you chayev. The Tanya law, and we learned that on the Brisa. Kidem zigas kois yofo. What do you mean with zigas akois? Zigas akois, if I wouldn't have told you how much of the zigas akois, a kois of 5 liters or 30 milliliters, how much is zigas akois? So the Bryce is telling me kois yofo. Kois yofo, Rashi said before, it's birkas hamazon. The kois is supposed to be beautified, birkas hamazon. The kois, you have all the little cups around it. You have to wear your hat when you say the birkas hamazon. The kois of birkas hamazon is kois, the beautiful kois. So what you have to. The amount of wine, once diluted, right, will get you to the concentrated wine plus X will get you to the kois yafa. That's the amount, right? And how much is that? Thank you very much. What is X in the formula? What is the size of the kos of birkas hamazon kois yafa? Biktani seifa v'sh'al kol hamashkin be'avis. So Rav is really holding the stick on both ends. It's like a double raya. First of all, he says it's a kois yofa. It's enough. I have an idea of a kois yofa that it's a quarter of a kois yofa. How does he know it's a quarter? From Rashi, it's mashma. That's the normal way of people to have a nice kos, to dilute it 1 wine over three units of water, right? And we also have rice also from other places, from Psochim and other places. 3 parts. Water, I'm sorry. I meant water, sorry. Water and 1 wine. And the end of how much is that ideal and how much is a kois yofa? So see, the end of the Mishnah Ravis, since other mashkim are Ravis, to Rav, it makes sense to say that the Reisha is also enough to get to Ravis. The Sefer that says Shah mashkim, this is important to know, because Rav and Abba are going to argue about that a lot. Rav says, you see, at the end of the Mishnah says, a normal cup of drink, orange juice, apple juice, Coke, is Ravis. The wine, how much you chayiv? Much less. Enough wine to create that same amount of ravis, right? Which is the kois yofa. And it's 1/3 of water. That's what Rava basically says. So from here, we're learning another halacha. We're not only learning that how much you take out on Shabbos, we also learn now that this is the cause of Birkas Hamazon. Now we know that the kois yofa, that the kois of benching is revis from the seif of our Mishnah. We're also learning Hilchas Kiddush of Dol and Birkas Hamazon. Alba kois is not just Hilchas Shabbos; it's very much more here. Zog the Gemara, Rav is following his own idea. The Omar Rav himself came up with the idea. Kol chamar deloidari al chad, whichever wine which you're not adding, you're not daris like to carry. You don't carry on. You don't bring on chad on each one, on each unit. Plus maya, 3 times water. Lav chamo. That's not wine. Wine should be drank how? How should be drinking wine? 1 concentrated yain chai, the strong wine, over 3 units of water. And how much is the total? Kois yofa is taught from the end of our Mishnah revis. Okay, we have the formula, very nice according to Rav. So far, just chazoro, echoing what you learned yesterday about David. Amar Abaye says Abaye shtei tshuvas b'dovo. I have 2 questions against what you're saying, 2 challenges I have. Kada, first one, Ditnan. It says in the Mishnah in Niddah, when we learn about colors of the ksomim of Niddah, of the blood of Niddah, it says there are all types of shades of red that are still considered osir. There are shades of maybe you think are like red. Rashi says they're really green. The colors are off the chart, which are not called dam Niddah. Those colors are not metame. One of the examples was, it says, V'hamazug shnei chelkei mayim ve'echad yain meyayin shiroini. One of the colors there is called the mozug, the diluted wine. It's a type of shade of red that the blood of the Niddah of the woman sometimes has that color. And how is it defined? As wine comes from Sharon. Sharon is an area in Eretz Yisrael, Medina. Yeah, it's a real between Haifa and Tel Aviv. That area is called Sharon, Ranana, Netanya. So Sharon, wine that comes from the Sharon, what's the normal way to, sounds like that's a normal way of drinking it. Shnei chelkei mayim ve'echad yain. Not like you're saying, Rava. Very nice that you have your ideas about 1 verse over 3. No, the Mishnah over there says 1 unit of wine over 2 of water, not 3. So a third wine, we see the Mishnah there says that the normal way of halacha to look at wine of the Sharon, which is an example of any other wine, according to Abaye, is 1 wine, 1 concentrated wine over 2 units of water, not 3. So far, Abaye is not yet telling us what he thinks about the amount of wine necessary for Kiddush. But mitzad the ratio, he already disagrees with Rava. I'm sorry, Rava, there's a Mishnah against you. Yeah, and the oid, and here we have 3 pshatim in the Rishonim. I'm going to follow now Rashi and Tosfos. The oid, mayim bekad umitztarfin. Abaye's question is a very loaded question. Really, it's a question on the Mishnah. We have to understand why is Abaye attacking Rava because of the question. The simple pshat of the question is, excuse me, why is it when it comes to wine, you care about the concentrated, not the final product? My bekad mitzdarfin, in order to have a nice cup of wine for Kiddush, not for Kiddush, I'm supposed to have the revis of the revis, the quarter of the revis, right? But I still have mine bekad. I have to have water in the jug to add 3 units, right? So they're not there. If the final product is not there, why am I chayiv? Why am I chayiv in it, right? Well, the question is, that's a very good question. Why is it wine? We're much more machmir, and we're basically mechayiv a person for taking out the raw product, not the final product. But that's a question of Abaye as well. No. Explains Tosfos. Tosfos takes over from Rashi, and Tosfos adds very, very well, very good explanation, says no. The Tanya is against the Rava in particular. Why? How did Rava know? Basically, I'll give you the preface. There are 3 explanations here. I'm following Rashi now. Abaye is coming to L'choira disagree with the idea that a kois Kiddush, the one who can make Kiddush this Shabbos, and you and me and Avdallah and Birkas Hamazon and Leila Seder. Who says it's revis? Who says that the amount is revis? Yeah, who says it's 150 milliliters of the Chazon Ish? Why? Because it says you're taking from the Sefer of the Mishnah. The Sefer and the Reisha are not the same. You see, the wine is different to everybody else. You see the wine, you're not chayiv in the water, you're chayiv in the wine alone, because wine is more choshuv. If wine is more choshuv, and therefore on wine you're chayiv even in the raw product without the final product, right? And the sefer of the Mishnah is mechayiv only in the final product of revis, that creates a dichotomy between wine and any other drinks. So you can't extrapolate anymore from the other drinks to wine. Boom. That's a knockout kivyochol of Abaye against Rava. The other explanations, which are on purpose not saying, I'd like to follow one Rishon, and I really would like to get to other Rishonim. I'm repeating. I can see now again, Rabbi Jason. I'm repeating. How can you prove from the Sefer to the Reisha? The Mishnah has a Berlin Wall in the middle. In the ratio, you see the wine is so choshuv, you chayv on wine because wine is the most choshuv drink in the world, right? And therefore, even on the raw product, before the final product of all 3 cups of all units of wine join it, I'm already chayv, right? And the safe on the other hand, I'm only chayv on the final product. Let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to dilute your orange juice. I sometimes do that. It's too strong. You're not chayv on that. You only chayv a revis of orange juice. You're not chayv on half revis of orange juice that later on you'll dilute. Because orange juice is not so choshuv. You only chayv when you have the final thing. If so, just like mitzad the chashivas, it's not the same. So to mitzad the amount is not the same. So how do you know just because the other mashkim, the chashivas is revi, so too is the cup of wine of bracha and birkas hamazon? They're 2 different worlds. That's a pshat according to Rashi, and Tosfos helping Rashi. There's Tosfos himself, by the way, at the end. Tosfos argues, and Tosfos wants to say, because he says the Rishonim are very upset and say, Mapitom, Abai can't argue in such a thing because there's Gemara in Tochim, and that's a minhag ha'olam. How can Abai say you don't need revis for a cup of Kiddush? It's such a basic thing from other places. So they want to say, the Ri wants to say in the Tosfos, and there's Ramban, there's Sfas Emes so today, they say that no, they say the pshat is Abai really means that you only had, if you took out a whole revis of raw wine, a whole, not roi revis, the whole revis. And then he's asking Rava, then his question makes much more sense. He's asking Rava, mechitesi on the small amount. You really chayv a whole, not to dilute, you chayv on the whole, yain chay, a whole revis. I mean, good luck to the guy who drinks it, go crazy, but that's what Abai holds. You okay? You want to ask him? Yeah. No, very good, very good. Yeah. We're saying, why is you see the Mayim Bakad, are they mitzaref? So according to Rashi, it's not as good as a Ri, but it's a rhetorical question. Why is it really Mayim Bakad mitzarfin? Only because we care about the potential water when it comes to wine. Mashenk and other drinks that don't care about the potential, just care about the final product. It's kill a question and answer. It's like a rhetorical question. That's what we have to understand it. I hear you though. So now Rove wants to answer both questions. First of all, you're attacking me for Gemara in Mishnah Niddah, right? What did we say about the wine from Sharon? We saw 1/2, right? And not 1/3. Well, first of all, what do you want? Yain Shiroini, Lechud, Derafi. Yain Shiroini is different to other drinks because it's already weak. The wine of the Sharon is like already Rafi, it's like more diluted naturally. It's naturally weaker, and therefore, in order to dilute it and make it drinkable, you don't need to add 3 more, just 2 more. But it doesn't, I'm talking about normal wine the whole time, not about Yain Sharon. Sharon is different than everybody else. Now, Inami, another answer, another Lomdish answer. Also, Mishum Chazusa. Excuse me, we're not learning about wine, we're learning about wine as a color, right? We're talking about blood that has the color of wine. And therefore for the chazusa, even if it's not only Yain Shironi, any wine to look red, in other words, any blood to be halachically red and not non-red, to be mitami the woman, yeah, Lola, you know what I'm saying, yeah, then what? For that you have to have 1/2. Right? Even though for drinking it's not good enough. For drinking it's too strong. It's too strong of a wine. But Lamaisa for Dam Niddah, that color is red enough, and the color that's 1/3 is too diluted. Mitzad the looks, it's already too pink, too fadey, too bright, and it's like green. Rashi said it's already not called red. That's why mitzad the taste. I stand by what I say, and we all know 1/3. For mitzad tasting or mitzad drinking for Birkas Hamazon for Kiddush. That's the first answer. The second answer, now comes the big news. Regarding your second question, regarding what you said, my mikad umitztalfin. You asked me about the Reisha. The Reisha says, my mikad umitztalfin. Yeah, l'chora, the concentrated wine is not the final product. Why you chayev? Because it's choshuv, and other drinks are not choshuv. And says Rava, Linyan Shabbos midid the choshiv beinan vonami hachoshiv. That's difficult to understand, but the answer is no. When it comes to Shabbos and wine, we're looking for something choshuv because wine is choshuv, and therefore what? The wine is choshuv, true. And even on a quarter of the revis, not the final product, the raw product you chayev, is opposed to other drinks, which is different. The question is, but Rabbi knew that in the question also. So I think the pshat is, that's my own understanding, and I remember it vaguely, I think, from last time I learned it in Koilon. The explanation is as follows. This is a bit more deep here. According to Abaye, Abaye said like this, listen, just like in the Reisha, mitzad the quality, wine is more choshuv, right? And the other drinks are less. Therefore, by wine, you have on even the potential cup of wine, and by Coke and Sprite and juices, you have only on the final product. So too, the amount doesn't show either. So too, the other ones are revis, and one is not revis, the final product. Rava says mapitom, they're two separate stories. It's true that in wine you chayev because it's so choshuv, even if you took out just the raw product. But it doesn't mean that the two are not connected still when it comes to the final product. By Sprite or Coke or orange juice, the final product is revis. By wine, it's also revis. They're different only mitzad the chashivos, but mitzad the amount, they're not different. They're the same. Now, there's a third pshat, which I want to tell you, which makes, the Lashon makes a lot of sense here. And that is the Ritva Ramban, and even so today the Sfas Emes about that. They say no. They say that what he wants to say, Abaye, is that the Kiddush cup, the ideal Kiddush cup should be 1/2. Yes, 1/2, like the Yain Shironi. Shironi is just an example. Any wine is the same. 1 wine and 2 water. So what's Abaye getting more than Rava? What's all discussion? He's gaining like this. According to me, Abaye, the difference between the concentrated amount and the final product is not that big. Is not that big. According to Rav, it's much bigger. It's just a quarter. According to me, it's a third. Because it's a third, Mimela says Abaye, according to you, I don't see mechitesi to take out just a quarter. You ready, Chayiv? I don't get it. Mapitom. Meshenkel Shitosi, it's better. Because I know that if you took out the third, it needs a bit of diluting. It needs not much diluting. So the difference between it's kilo, I need the same amount just to be a bit diluted. I mean, it's a bit schwer because it's still twice over. That's how the Rishonim view it. He says, according to me, it makes sense. The Reisha talks about wine, which is what? Which is it's almost there. Just need a shtickle diluting. So it's all the same. The Shenken, according to Rav, mapitom. It's only the concentrate, and in the Sefer you talk about a revis. You can't compare the two. And Rava said no. Rava says no. I don't care. And Chinami, I believe that because wine is choshuv. In other words, according to the Ramban, the Rabbi didn't know about the chashivas of wine. That's no. That's all different. That's a mile of the Ramban and the Ritva of Rashi. The Rabbi didn't know about wine being more choshuv. And maybe he knows. Doesn't care about it in our Mishnah. He says stam. It could be oranges too. Oranges. The idea is the difference between the concentrate and the final thing is not so big. So maybe say there some drinks need a shtickle diluting, but still makes sense. You took it out, you're almost all there. You're almost all there. Yeah, the way I see. According to you, there's a whole jug of water needed here. 3/4 versus 1. Mechitesi to be chayv and just raw product. Imagine yourself flour. If you have flour and water separate, it's a huge distance between that and a cake. You have a cake that's half baked, it's almost there. That's how Abai sees it. And says Rava, no, you're right, Abai, but I say here the product is choshev mitzad the wine, so you chayav on the concentrate. Meshenken in the sefer, you're not chayav on concentrate only in the whole thing, but mitzad the amount. And the amount is 1/3. Why chayav on the raw amount only without the final product? Because wine is choshev. But Abai didn't know it in the question. That's a big difference. Okay.
The point of Rav is it's a Vova.
Yes, it's a shlish, according to them. According to Ramban, before Shatot today, and Sfas Emes explains it. Now we're going to a new old sugya. Tana, yovesh because ice. What about wine that was congealed? The wine is yovesh because ice. Let's say wine, you took wine and somehow you dried it up, you froze it, you dried it. You had wine that was somehow, by some, I don't know, technicality, you managed to do it. You have wine cubes. Sell them. Maybe that's a new thing. Wine, ice pops of wine. Yeah. So if the amount is yovesh, you chayv if you took it out because ice. Divrei Rabbi Nosson, says Rabbi Nosson, meaning, really it's revis. We're now standing by Rava. Wine, the normal wine is revis, right? A revis of the revis. Now, you know how much is revis? Is the equivalent of revis liquid in solid is kazais. You take revis of wine and you somehow solidify it, you'll end up with kazais. That's all. So if you took out kazais, you chayiv. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. Now, yain korush, right? Now, Rashi says, "Bekorush revis shlema beinan the lav bar meziga. That's important to know. Rashi in the third wide line, he says, Mikova berevis, ubekosh shlema beina, the lav bar meziga, which means when it comes to the wine, how much wine is real normal, a cup of wine? A full revis. 4/4, yeah, like the Kiddush got. You chayv on a quarter because soon you're going to take the quarter and add 3/4 of water. The kosh, the hard one, you can't pop it into the water and it will become wine, like we would imagine in today's world. You can't do meziga to it. So then you take an entire vis, a kazais is equivalent to the entire vis. Imagine yourself revis, a chat pami cup, yeah, that in a karush version, in a dried, solidified version, is kazais. That's what you chayv on. Okay, Beseder, that's what he says. But scientifically, Ravis is equivalent to kazais in solid. Amar Rav Yosef wants to now join two opinions together and compare two opinions. Rav Yosef was the rabbi of who? Of Abaye, Rav and Abaye. Rabbi Nosson, which we just saw, the Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Amud Dover Echad. Rabbi Nosson, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, they both believe in the same idea of what? The revis of liquid is equivalent, mamish, technically, it's the same as solids in kazais. The same version in solid is kazais. Let's see. Rabbi Nosson Odamon. Rabbi Nosson is what we said before, we just saw right now. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, where's Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda in the story? The Tanya. It says in the Brisa, it's really a Mishnah in Eduyos, but the Mishnah is not appearing that way exactly, so it's a Brisa. It's similar to a Mishnah. It says like this, Rabbi Yehuda says Rabbi Yehuda, Maseches Eduyos is all kinds of testimonials of Tanoim who heard things from before them. Yeah. Now, what did the Tanoim say? It says like this: Shisha Dvorim. There are 6 cases in Shas. Mikula b'Shamai u'mechumra b'Sila. The 6 places in Shas in which b'Shamai more mekel and b'Sila more machmir. Rashi says there are many more cases, but these are the ones that are recorded in that Mishnah. They came to Kerem B'Yavne. They came to Yeshiva Kerem B'Yavne. Yeah, and they made then that an assembly. Each one said what he remembers from your Rabbi Yosef, and in that assembly, in that asifa, they came up with these 6 cases. We're only going to discuss one, don't worry. And the case is Dam Nevela. Dam Nevela. What's this of Dam Nevela? Well, we all know, we're going to see a lot of it in Daf Pei Beis. We all know that a Nevela, a dead, either kosher or non-kosher animal, yeah, they're dead body, they're metame b'kazais. You have a kazais of basar, of the flesh. I'm stressing again, the flesh of a dead cow. It's metame b'kazais. Now, me'ikar adin, yeah, if you asked me before I saw this, as far as I always knew, the only thing that's metame, that's common, and you're going to see it in Shmona Shotzim, in the 14th parak, the only part that's metame in animals, and also for kashrus is non-kosher, makes a difference for kashrus, is the meat. Not the hard skin, and not the bones, and not... But the blood is also a tweet because it's blood. But I'm saying, mitzad tuma, blood alone, misvara, is not metame. Toisa says over here that there was a special limud that here we're mechadesh, that the blood of an avela is metame as if it was the meat, as if it was the flesh of the behemoth. It's a chiddush. A dam nevela, as opposed to, let's say, the dry bone of a nevela is not metame, but the dry skin is not metame. You can wear a leather jacket, leather shoes, they're not metame. Why? Nevela. Why? Because it's a skin, the leather. Meshenken, flesh or blood that's equivalent to flesh, that's all idea we're going to see now, are metame. What's the size of the blood to be metame? Let's see. B'shama mitarin. Everything I said is not true. B'shama say no. B'shama say we're staying conservative, normal, and as far as we know, yeah, the lotion in the Torah is basar. The basar of the vela is metame. The blood, last time I checked, is not basar, so it's not metame. Who am I speaking like? Basila. Basila and metamin. Basila say no, blood is like flesh, and therefore blood too is metame. However, remember, Rabbi Yehuda is the man we're looking for. He is similar to Rabbi Nosson by saying what? When Basil or Metame, they didn't say any drop of blood. Only blood that you can fill a cup of revis with the blood, then you touch the blood, a cup full, a chat pami cup full of revis of blood, you touched it, then you're Metame. Why? Oh, the cat's out of the bag. Why is that? Because really blood is only metame because it's equivalent, somehow halachically, derivative of what? Of flesh. And flesh is kazais. So revis blood, if you would congeal it, if you'd solidify it, you'd have how much? Kazais. Therefore, the liquid version is metame because it's potentially, if it will be koresh, if it will solidify and gel, it would be kazais like baso. Therefore, it's metame. You can see this later. Yeah. So that's equivalent. Very good. Wait. So we saw the numbers are the same. Mazel tov. We have a good match here between Rabbi Nosson and Rabbi Yehuda. He spoke about wine. He spoke about blood, but they said the same. They said the vis of liquids is equivalent, equals the kazais of solid. Very nice. Omar Abaye, I don't know if you noticed, I noticed throughout many places, Abaye many times argues on vis of his Rebbe. Omar Abaye, Dil Malahi, maybe it's not the same. I'm not sure, Rebbe, you're right about making the shidduch between the statements of Yosef, excuse me, of Nosson and Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, because there's a difference between wine and blood. Oh. Ad kan lo kamar binoson hocho de by revis. Mer Rabbi spoke about wine, right? And Rabbi said, you know why you need the revis? You tell me, what's more runny and what's more viscous, wine or blood? Blood is thicker. Blood is thicker than wine, so you can't compare them. Ad kan lo kamar binoson hocho de by revis. You know where you require revis in order to be put, if it's potential, it's a potential amount that if you solidify it, solidifies always smaller, right? You make it solid and smaller, that is only true behind the kalish. Wine is runny. So maybe for the wine that's runny, a revis of liquid creates a kazais of solid. Aval badam de samich, blood is naturally closer to being solid. It's not solid, but blood is naturally more thicker. Is thicker. Is more viscous, thicker. So kazais loy by revis, right? Maybe kazais does not need revis. In order to create the kazais like a matchbox. In order to create a matchbox of congealed blood, you may need less than revis because it's naturally already more similar and closer to solid because it's more of a thicker liquid. So maybe we need half a revis, less than a revis. You can't compare. Inami, or let's use the same logic exactly the same, but the other way around. Now let's from the other end of the stick. Now let's start from the blood. Ad only there Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says over there, kazais, where when it comes to blood, maybe over there, in order to create kazais, it's enough to have just revis when dafka in the blood that's thick, aval yain the kalish, maybe wine that is runny, and you need much more than that. Kazais havi yoisel revis, right? In order to create the kazais, you need more than revis, because the distance between that very liquidy wine and the solid kazais is bigger. Maybe you need revis plus, because you need more and more of it to create the desired amount. Maybe if you take less than kazais, already chayev, because less than kazais already gets you to what? By blood, maybe less than kazais of solid, mechayiv you, because less than kazais already gets you to revis. It's always smaller amounts, smaller numbers. Therefore, Abai says, I'm not sure my Rebbe is right, because again, it's very simple. Wine is more runny, blood is thicker, and therefore it's not the same. They all agree to the concept, of course, but lavdafka with the numbers, they're not necessarily saying the same. Maybe they are saying the same. Maybe we don't care somehow about the differences. I don't know why, but maybe the differences make a difference. They're not the same. Let's continue a little bit. Yeah, Beseder. Now, so we said basically the three shittas Rishonim and Abai, right? So just going back to the shittas, either Abai is telling me what? That you don't need the revis for your Kiddush cup, right? You need less than revis, and how much you need, he doesn't say. He says you can't prove it from our Mishnah because wine and other drinks are not the same. According to the Ritva Ramban in Sfasem is explaining the Ramban, he requires 1/2, right? And the other pshat is that no, excuse me, no, I was right, Abai didn't argue on Ravis. Abai did not. According to Rashi, Abai says he knows that the Kiddush cup is supposed to be a full Ravis, right? Elamai, he's saying that it has to be a full Ravis, but no, I'm sorry, no. Excuse me. According to Rashi, he does know it's full Ravis, like I said before. He doesn't know you need your Kiddush cup to be Ravis, right? That's what he's arguing about, and you can't learn it from Ravis of a Mishnah. Excuse me, no. Yeah, as I said before, according to the Ritva, he's arguing about the diluting. Yeah, maybe he knows you need revis in total. In total, you need a revis. So how do you fill your Kiddush cup? A third of raw wine and two-thirds of water. That's what it's trying to say. Although the final is definitely revis, nobody argues on that. They say, according to the Ri in Toises, he needs a whole cup full of yain chai. Wow. Good luck to the one who's drinking it, not me. Yain chai, a whole full revis. Weiter. Okay. Ibailu. Cholov k'dei gmia. We said how much milk k'dei gmia. How did you understand it, Reb David? Enough to drink, right? Like a small swallow, one gulp. Yeah, gmia. Ibai lahu k'dei gmia or k'dei gmia. You see, you don't care about Hebrew. The Gemara is saying, the Gemara is asking, is clearing, how do you spell gmia with an aleph or an ayin? It's important to know. It's Lashon HaKodesh. Omar Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak, hagmi'ini nema me'at mayim b'kadech. You see, when Yitzchak Avinu, when Eliezer approached Rivka, he said Agmi'ini with an aleph, right? Not with the ayin. Agmi'ini with an aleph. Ligmo. Lamaisi, you do say, but the Mishnah does say Gmi'a. So according to him, Gmi'a is wrong, should be Hagmi'ini with an aleph. Ligmo, not Ligmo'a. Like Rivka gave him water to drink. Ibolu, another question. Gar'inin or Gar'inin? In the previous Mishnah, how was the last Mishnah of Klal Gadol? He told us that grogeres of food. Most foods are grogeres. Now we speak about drinks, ravis, and it mentioned the gar'inin, right? The pips, the stone with the grains that are inside the food. Gar'inin or gar'inin? You say gar'inin with an aleph, you spell it with an ayin, gar'inin. Amarove barula, the nigra me'erkecho. He's giving a siman. Legarea is to take away. When you, let's say, sell a date, you know you have a date, you know you're not going to eat the whole date. Inside is the gar'in. So the gar'in, nigra, legroa is to take away. So gar'in is like gorea, taking away from the whole amount. Ibalu, another question, oy memois or oy memois? Yeah, that talks about it. So today in Psochim, it says about the gecholim, the coals in Beis Hamikdash, that the Kohen would take gecholim which were not oy memois and not a flame. The gecholim, the coals in Beis Hamikdash, were supposed to be like burning coals and not dead coals. Or memot already dying. They're on the way out. Omem is like already, amum in Hebrew is dim. Like, amum is dim light. Yeah, amum is like darkish already. It's on the way out. It's already, the gecholim, they're not good. Lahavdil for barbecue, they're not good. And a flame, mamish flame, is not gecholim. It's a flame. You have somewhere in the middle. So what's the lotion? Oimemos with an aleph or with an ayin? Amar Yitzchak, Baravdim, it says, Arozim lo amenu began Elokim. Yeah, it says about, I don't remember right now who, Arozim, it talks about, I don't remember, there's a whole, I once saw this parak in the Novi, about someone who describes a very, very, very good person. And it says, Arozim, even the big Arozim, the cedar trees, they don't darken his beauty in the garden of Hashem. Like when he stands next to all the great people, all the great things of Gan Eden, they still don't diminish or dim his light. So you see, amemu than ayin. You see, to dim the light is amemu. And the last one, ibailu me'amitzin tanan or me'amitzin. It says in one of the almost last mishnahs in the Masechta, you're not allowed to close the eyes of the dead, neither in Shabbos nor on Chol. Because to close the eyes of the person who's dying, you're mekarev his death, you're hastening his death when you close the eyes. Like la'atzom inayin, to close the eyes. Are you supposed to write me'amtzin or me'amtzin? Aleph or ayin? It says in the pasuk, otzem with an ayin, the one who's otzem, the one who closes his eyes from seeing anything bad. We all close our eyes when we approach something bad. Close our eyes, otzem and ayin with an ayin, not with an aleph. Okay. Shkoyach, see you tomorrow, Be'ezras Hashem. Amazing. Thank you. Kol hakavod for taking over. Really unbelievable. It was makes me feel good that I know the group was very united and active. Thank you. Hatzlacha uvracha. Shkoyach.
Came out just right there.